Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Governance and Transparency Committee meeting for the 9th of February 2023. Just noting all members of the committee are in attendance. I'd like to start off by doing the acknowledgement of country. Ipswich City Council respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners as custodians of the land upon which we meet. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, as the keepers of the traditions, cultures and stories of a proud people. Do any councillors have a declaration of interest to make on any matters on the agenda today? That not being the case, we'll go to confirmation of minutes. I'll seek a mover from the floor for those. Moved by Mayor Harding and seconded by Councillor Milligan. Any commentary on those minutes, or are we happy to proceed to the vote? Happy to proceed to the vote. Those in favour of adopting those or confirming those minutes? That's unanimous and carried. Our first officers' report today is the Quarter 2 Operational Plan 2022-2023 Quarterly Performance. Do any members of the committee have questions for the relevant officer? Mayor Harding.
Deputy Mayor, I'd like to ask a question about Theme 3 deliverables, which is the development of a cultural landscape investigation report for Flinders School and Conservation. It's the only item in the plan that is read. I think Mr. Phil Smith is the relevant council officer.
All right, I'll wait for Mr. Smith to arrive at the lectern.
Thank you, Mayor, Councillors. Phil Smith, Natural Environment and Land Manager.
Thank you. Through the Chair. Thank you, Mr. Smith. I just note the comment on this that all projects requiring the input of native title engagement are currently on hold whilst a formal way forward is negotiated. Could you let us know where that is at?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, so in regards to engagement with the native title parties, we started some formal engagement last year with a stakeholder workshop specifically around the potential programs in White Rock Spring Mountain, namely the boardwalk and protection of the White Rock there. Native title party representatives were present, as were their legal representative. Had some good discussion. We actually went out to site and walked some of the sites with the native title party. Some of the ladies went up to White Rock, which was women's business, and it was quite a productive meeting. The upshot of that is we passed potential plans and ideas to their legal representative through Parallax Legal. They took it away and came back with a proposal to create a formal cultural heritage management plan, which is standard and best practice for these kind of works and something we hadn't had in place. My understanding is presently that Council's external legal representatives are dealing directly with Parallax Legal, who are acting on behalf of YUP and the native title claimant groups to develop that cultural heritage management plan. A large emphasis there is around the broader consultation and communication. So presently there's a communication plan or similar being developed in that respect. From then we'll move on to the formulation of the cultural heritage management plan, which will cover the conservation estate. In terms of timings, because it's a sensitive issue and communications are essentially in the hands of the native title party and more broadly, it's hard to pin down a time frame, unfortunately. It's kind of in their hands in terms of getting the right people to the right party and understanding fully and comprehensively what the concerns and thoughts are. So it does make it very hard from a programming perspective. However, we feel that we're doing the right thing in taking this route, and we're happy to give you updates as and when they occur.
Okay. Are there any other projects that we have on our capital works program or our programs, ops plan as well, that is being impacted?
Yeah, so essentially,
just this project?
No, well, there's a few others, and we've been mindful, I suppose. Essentially, anything that has implications, turns soil, or has any kind of intrusive works, I suppose, associated with them within those conservation estates needs to go through the cultural heritage process. And as part of that, we've kind of just stopped matters while we develop the cultural heritage management plan, which will give us eventually, hopefully, will give us a good way forwards to be able to work on this. So we're being cautious in that respect. Okay. Normal works in terms of operational works, so maintenance, changing things that are already there. We're happy to go ahead, but we're making sure we're doing the right thing. But anything new or has potential to require native title support, then we're going through this process. So it's fairly wide ranging, but we're probably being conservative in that space.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you is that just the projects in that conservation area are on hold until, or delayed, or can't progress until we get that agreement in place.
In this particular matter, yeah.
And it's not affecting anywhere else in the LGA?
Not at this stage, not specifically in regards to this cultural heritage management plan.
Thank you, Thank you, Chair.
All right, proceeding along, I'll seek a mover for the recommendation that that report be received and noted. It's moved by Councillor Doyle and seconded by Councillor Milligan. Any discussion this morning from the committee?
Just note good progress on many of the initiatives that we need to see through, so thank you.
That being the case, I'll proceed to the vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous and carried. Our next officer's report this morning is the quarterly report to the Department of State Development, Infrastructure, Local Government and Planning. Are there any questions for the relevant officer on this one? That being the case, I'll seek a mover that the committee endorse the draft letter to the Director General. Seek a mover from the floor. Moved by Mayor Harding, seconded by Councillor Doyle. Any discussion on that matter? There being no discussion, I'll proceed to the vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous and carried. Item 4 today is an update to Council's meeting conduct policy, meeting procedures policy and public participation policy. Are there any questions for the relevant officers on these matters? That being the case, I'll seek a mover for recommendation A, B and C this morning. Moved by Councillor Kunzelman and seconded by Mayor Harding. Any discussion this morning?
If I may, Chair, just good governance as the state government updates and improves, with that we also update and improve our policies in line with best practice.
Thank you, Mayor. That being the case, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour of adopting A, B and C? That's unanimous and carried. Item 5 this morning is a disposable interest in land for easement purposes over Part 1 of 1 Hague Street, Brassel. 2 recommendations there. Are there any questions on this matter this morning? There being no questions of the officer, I'll seek a mover and a seconder for recommendation A and B. Moved by Councillor Johnick, seconded by Councillor Milligan. Any discussion on that matter? There being no discussion, I'll put matters A and B to the vote. Those in favour of adopting? Kate, you're allowed to vote against it, just making sure. That's unanimous and carried. Item 6 this morning is a procurement matter for rates modelling software, maintenance and support agreement. It's an extension of contract. Are there any questions this morning on this matter? There being no questions, I'll seek a mover for recommendation A and B. Moved by Councillor Doyle and seconded by Councillor Milligan. Any discussion this morning? There being no discussion, I'll put recommendation A and B to the vote. Those in favour of adopting? That's unanimous and carried. Item 7 today is another procurement matter, the supply of unbound pavement material for maintenance of Council's unsealed roads. Are there any questions this morning on this matter? There being no questions, I'll seek a mover for recommendation A and B. Moved by Councillor Milligan and seconded by Councillor Johnick. Any discussion this morning on that matter? There being no discussion, I'll put recommendation A and B to the vote. Those in favour of adopting? Councillor Kunzelman? Sorry, you can again, but all right, that's unanimous and carried. We have another procurement matter before us, the Customer Experience Maturity Assessment. Are there any questions on this matter? Mayor Harding? Which officer in particular?
I'm looking to see the benefits, the functionality that this software will bring to the team to help, and how things will improve for residents.
So is it a procurement question or a customer service department question?
Well, probably more a customer service, the area that's purchasing it.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you, Chair.
Anne Cahill, Customer Strategy and Experience Manager.
Through the chair, thank you, Ms. Cahill. Appreciate this. Do you mind outlining what you think, what the benefits will be of this software and how that will help our residents?
It's not actually a software, it's just an external organisation to benchmark what the current maturity level is. It's a survey and interviews internal. It was done, you may recall that it was done when we produced the strategy. The councillors were also involved in those interviews. And what this does is benchmarks again to see our improvement from the work that we've done.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chair.
All good. No more questions. I'll seek a mover for recommendation A and B this morning. Moved by Councillor Doyle and seconded by Councillor Milligan. Any discussion this morning from the committee? There being no discussion, I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour of adopting, that's unanimous and carried. Item 9 this morning is a procurement matter for waste management software solution contracts 12759 and 14024. Just noting that there's recommendations A through G here. Are there any questions this morning for the relevant officers? There being no questions, as it's a procurement matter, I'll seek a mover for recommendations A through G. Councillor Jonik, moved by Councillor Jonik, seconded by Councillor Doyle. Any discussion this morning on that? There being no discussion, I'll put matters A through G to the vote. Those in favour of adopting? That's unanimous and carried. Item 10 this morning is another procurement matter for a disc profile solution. Just seeking some advice from the CEO on the recommendation. So it's A, part 1, and then B. That's just a stylistic difference. I'm perfectly fine with it. I think we can do a recommendation 1 as well, but...
Sorry, Chair, yeah, it is A and B, but the reason is marked as 1, so should be indented perhaps further. It's really part of A. So 2 resolutions we're seeking from you.
A and B?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Provided everyone understands that, I'm comfortable. Any questions this morning on that procurement matter? Councillor Kunzman?
Thank you. My question is on the use of DISC rather than the procurement. Is it possible to ask that question now?
Yes, call on the relevant officer. I think he's here this morning.
Morning, Ross Muller, Acting Manager Procurement.
Good morning, Mr. Muller. My question is, to what level of council staff does this DISC system be applied?
Yeah, so the intent has been to take a cascading approach, to start with leaders in the organisation and cascade through, ultimately with the end result being all council officers will experience DISC over the coming years.
Thank you, that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions this morning on this matter? So I'll seek a mover for recommendation A and B from the committee. Moved by Councillor Jonik, seconded by Councillor Doyle. Any discussion this morning on that? There being no discussion, I'll put recommendation A and B to the vote. Those in favour of adopting? That's unanimous and carried. There's no notices of motion or matters arising this morning, so I'll call the meeting to close at 10:58 a.m.